and friends? It's the Pope of Plastic here from Harry's Hobbies. It's Friday, and guess what we're doing? Vintage model unboxings. That's what we do on Fridays. Every single Friday, we pick out something different, something cool, something goofy, something you haven't seen in a while, or maybe something you haven't seen at all. And hopefully it will excite you. Maybe it'll bring back a modeling memory, and then maybe you'll say, hey, you know what? I should start building models again. And then you'll dust off the kit, and you'll sit down at your card table, and you'll start building the model, and you'll remember how great it was to build a model kit. So that's why I'm doing these. And it's fun to go back in time and look at kits maybe that we remembered or something we never seen before. And today we've got a gem. We're going back to AirFix this time, okay? And this is a little bit different subject matter than I've done normally, but it is something that's very near and dear to my heart, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the Smithsonian National Space Museum, Space Shuttle Columbia. So I'm guessing they made these kits probably were sold at the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C., I would imagine. And you could probably get it, but this is a special edition model kit. I looked on the outside of the box. I don't see the exact date, but we're going to find out. I would imagine because the shuttles went up in the 80s and the 90s and into the 2000s, I would imagine this kit is from the 80s. So we're going to go through this, and we're going to see what this one is all about. Now listen to me. Once again, I have to say this every video. I am not an expert. I've never flown on the space shuttle. I don't know a whole lot about the exact workings of the space shuttle. So if I misspeak, if I call something the wrong thing, feel free to correct me. I know you will, but I'm just laying it out there for you. I'm not an expert. I'm a model builder. I get the model, I build the model, I follow the instructions like you should do. I try to learn about what I'm building. That's the beauty of model building, is that we can learn as we go along. We can research to make our models more accurate. It doesn't mean that when I get a model from somebody that I'm an expert or I'm doing an unboxing. I am unboxing this model just as you would, sitting on your dining room table with your wife or whatever complaining in the background, and you're just looking for a little solace. So you're gonna open up your model box, and you're gonna drown out your wife screaming at you, telling you, you didn't do the dishes, you think she's a slave and everything else, and she's worked all day, and now you're gonna come home and you're gonna sit down at the kitchen table and you're gonna open up a frickin' model. We're gonna open this together. I'm not gonna yell at you. I might yell at you. I'm already yelling. I don't mean to yell at you and make you upset. I'm trying to yell in a good way, if there's such a thing. Anyway, so let's open this up. Let's look at the cover here. Cover of the box. The Smithsonian Institution, the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. And thank goodness it comes with the paints, the glue, and the paintbrush. These are the exact type of paintbrushes that I use as a professional model builder. Steve, isn't this the best you can get?
Those are the greatest. Yeah.
These are the greatest. This is 1/144 scale. I got yelled at before about the ship model, about the USS ham and cheese sandwich. Which one was it?
The Melvin.
The Melvin.
I don't think it had a scale.
Yeah, I got yelled at because somebody said it was up on the box. 1 scale 1/44, scale level 2. We got, you just normal model information, nothing earth shattering. But we're gonna open this up and we're gonna look at this. Let me tell you a couple things though first. I'm from Florida, born and raised in southern Florida, so I grew up watching. I'm old enough to remember the last couple of the Apollo missions that launched off. We could see them from our house in southern Florida. You could watch them go up in the sky, and I remember that was a big thrill. My dad would drag us outside and say, hey, the rocket's going off, and we'd go and look, and it was an amazing memory. And then when I was in middle school, I went to the very first launch of the very first space shuttle, and it was incredible, and I'll never forget that. And then, sadly, I was very close surfing in Patrick Air Force Base when the Challenger blew up. And I watched the Challenger go up. We were out surfing. We watched it go. We had skipped school to go surfing, and didn't know that the Challenger was going up that day. And we were out surfing and watched the space shuttle go up, and we're watching it surfing. You know, they were going up quite a bit at that time, so you really didn't. I mean, it's hard not to pay attention to it, but it wasn't like, oh my goodness, there's the space shuttle. But it was pretty cool. We were watching it. We watched it. We knew we'd seen so many of them go up. We knew something was wrong when it sadly exploded. And terrible. I mean, NASA murdered those people. And far as I'm not going to get political here, but I mean, come on. They had fair warning not to launch that stupid thing. And they did, and killed all those people. Don't get me into the Columbia disaster, because you'll have me here for an hour, and I'll really be upset about that. So anyway, very sad. So there's good memories, there's sad memories, but this should be. I've never built a space shuttle model, and I'd like to. Actually, a good friend of mine sent me one, and I just haven't had the chance to build it yet. So anyway, we're going to look at this one. This is the AirFix. I would imagine we're going to try and find out what year it was from. Somebody will tell me, but I would imagine this is from the 80s. I would imagine. It could be 90s, but it's definitely not brand new. I can tell you that much. All right, we're looking in the bag. We got paints in here. We got a paintbrush. We got all sorts of stuff. We're gonna start with the instruction manual. Always good to start with the instruction manual. What do we got?
Right there.
1998. That's not that old, to be honest. Well, some of you it might be old. Some of you probably weren't even born in 1998. But for me, 1998. This seems like not too long ago, Steve.
No, it wasn't.
How many years is that? 1998.
27.
27. So I guess it is it's old.
It's old to some people.
Is 25 considered antique? Is that what?
Yes.
25 years. So this is an antique. So it's that's not a vintage kit. I'll hear that. Trust me.
I watched Apollo missions in elementary school, so this is current to me.
Yes, well, it's current to me too, but it is considered an antique kit. This isn't a brand new kit. That's what we're getting at. This is vintage unboxings at Harry's. Anyway, this is the instruction sheet and skill level 2. Again, I say this all the time. Make sure you read the instructions before you start building the model. You know what I mean? I know everybody's in a rush. You know, they get the model for Christmas and they want to run and immediately start building it, and they're sitting there in their pajamas and they're trying to put everything together. You need to study instructions before you build. It will make the build go much smoother. You can just kind of practice in your mind as you go through and kind of put it together. Then you get into dry fitting as you build. You know, and to make sure you dry fit, put the parts on, make sure you know where you're going. Then you put the glue on, and then you put it on wrong anyway. At least that's the way it works for me. I'll dry fit it perfectly. I go and I put the glue on. Then I go back and somehow I'm putting on the part upside down, or the part won't fit. You know, it's just that's just model building. But anyway, you test fit anyway to give yourself an idea, so you know in your head, oh, I did do it once, even though you're going to go and do it wrong the second time. But that's just the way it is. But that's model building. Anyway, this looks, the instructions are fairly simple. No writing, really. Just showing you with arrows. These aren't your typical AirFix instructions. I'm used to they look a little different on some of the other kits. But it doesn't look very complicated. It doesn't even look like it has a cockpit in it, does it? I guess it doesn't look like it. Anyway, it looks like the shuttle is pretty simple build here. And then you get into the external fuel tank, the main external fuel tank, or the space shuttle didn't have any fuel on it, so the external fuel tank. And then you get into the booster rockets. It looks like a simple build, really. It doesn't look very complex whatsoever. Of course, there's no photo etched in here. There was no photo etched back in the day, and I wish it was that way today. I hate photo etched. And your paint schemes. It'll be interesting to see what shuttles they have the decals for, won't it, Steve? It's going to be interesting.
And since the Russians copied our design with Russian decals, you can do their shuttle.
That's right. But you know, there is a model kit of the Russian shuttle. Now, look, ladies and gentlemen, this has not been opened since 1998, which we already established. Seems like yesterday for Steve and I. I get to open this. This is the luxury of being the Pope of plastic. I get to delve right in.
That's antique air coming out of that bag.
Look at it. Oh yeah, it smells just like the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. My favorite is the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio. That's my favorite. All right, let's look at this thing. Okay. Let's see how the molding is. The molding looks good. It's all raised panel lines. You know what? It's not a bad thing. Everybody says, oh, it's all recessed panel lines. You can get a scriber and recess the panel lines if you want. But you can build a nice model with raised panel lines. And so for beginners, I think it's kind of easier to weather raised details than it is what do you call it? Recessed. Jeez Louise. It's easier to detail for a beginner a raised detail than it is a recessed detail. Recessed detail, you have to learn how to use line filler, or there's other techniques you can do to fill the lines and to get the edges of certain things if they're recessed. Say it's a panel and it's a square and the line is recessed around it. To be able to weather that one, say panel hatch or whatever, you need to tape off and dry brush or do a sponge or do whatever you want to do to get that detail. It's a little more difficult. If you have a raised panel line, you can literally go in and it's great just to dry brush, and you can just go in with very, very, very little pigment on the brush, whatever the color you want to use, and you dry brush over, and dry brushing will bring out those details. So for a beginner, raised panel lines, in my opinion, and who the hell am I to give you my opinion, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. My opinion is that raised panel lines are better for a beginner. I think it's a good way, and you're going to come out with a nice looking model if you do, and you're going to practice dry brushing and things like that. It's going to be really nice. So yeah, I'm looking at the molding here. The molding is pretty crisp. Is there a little bit of flash? Yeah, but you take your X-Acto knife and you just remove that flash. Steve, a good friend of mine, makes something called a Flashmaster blade. He doesn't sponsor me or anything, but he makes a flexible X-Acto knife blade. It's not made by X-Acto. He makes it himself. And it's essentially like a really thin razor blade, and you put it in your X-Acto knife, your knife handle, and the blade is actually flexible, like really flexible, and it's razor sharp, and it's really good for removing flash and like injection pin marks that are on a curve, which are a pain in the butt to remove. All you do is take his flexible blade, and the blade flexes, and then you can go in and kind of scoop out the flash. So if anybody wants to go check out Flashmaster blades, I think you can get them on Amazon. That's my good friend John Metters is a great guy, and he makes the blades. They're American made, and go and they're wonderful, especially for flash. So I wish I had one to demonstrate. Maybe the next time I'll come in, I'll demonstrate it. But this looks good. The inside the bay with the satellite in it looks good. We're going to go to the next piece. We got our external tanks. One of our external tanks, booster rockets. See, somebody was going to complain. Looks like there was a worm living in here.
Wait a minute.
See that on the... Anyway, there's your external tanks. Again, molded very nicely. A little bit of flash, no big deal. The only thing that's weird is you would think that they would have molded in the tiles. There's no tile detail. It's all smooth.
No,
That's kind of weird. I'm trying to think of how you would, how I would emulate that look of the tiles. I would come up with some technique to do it in paint. It'd be a pain in the ass just doing little individual, pieces of, and then airbrushing one color, and then going in and airbrushing another color, just so you could get variation in the bottom of the spacecraft to make it look like there's tiles on here. There's ways to do it, certainly. And if I were building this, I would do that. It would be very time consuming, but it would be something that I would do. I'm just funny. I just noticed that there was no tiles molded in on this. Again, your booster rocket, the top of the external fuel tank, the rear engine thing, no detail there. This is a kick for a beginner. For sure. Here's your glass. Looks like just two pieces of glass. Let's look at the decals. This is going to be, dear customer, this item has been quality control inspected. If you find any problems, please write to us and send us a call. The number here, blah, 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 blah. What is this little thing? There it is. Your space shuttle. Tell you what it is. It comes with glue. I wonder if the glue is still good. I bet it's got a thing you gotta pop.
don't sniff it.
It's good.
Is it
still good? Yeah. It's still good. Look at that. Woo! Paints. Here you go. Here's for your external tank. You don't even have to buy paint for this kit, Steve. This is. If I was gonna paint this, I would just use these. I wouldn't do anything different. I'd just pop the cap, get to work. They're dry to the bone. Let's see, are they all dry? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a shame. I guess you have to go out and buy paint. I guess you're gonna have to buy some paint for this kit.
But not glue, though.
Not glue. Glue's good to go. And the paintbrush, look at this. Paintbrush is fine. Let's look at the decal sheet. I'll tell you what, the decals are screen printed, which is always good. But I don't know if these would still be good or not. I would imagine they would be. I don't like the paper they're printed on, though. That worries me. That's worrisome. Columbia and Challenger, both no longer with us. So this was certainly printed before those disasters struck. Wow. Let me say something about decals for a minute. You always want, the best decals in the world are screen printed. And the reason being is the inks are more, they're individually mixing inks usually with what we call spot colors. And they're setting up a press, and there is a color for each color of the decal. So if I'm printing the NASA logo, I'm printing first white, then I'm printing probably the blue, the dark blue, and then I'm printing the red on top of it. Each one of those colors is what we call a spot color. It's not made up of little individual tiny little dots that come together to blend to make the color, which they use CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, to make those colors. What happens when it's made up of dots, the image can get blurry. So if you look very closely, especially in a decal that has really fine detail like this, if it's done from an inkjet printer, this becomes blurry, and you only see kind of a representation of what the image would look like. You're not going to get, if you zoom in, you're not going to get a nice crisp looking decal. So a lot of the decals that are printed today are printed digitally. Some of the digital printing is getting pretty good, but it's still, in my humble opinion, not as good as screen printed. Screen printed decals are primarily coming out of Italy, and the number one company that does screen printed decals is Cartograph. You want to look for decals in kits. The higher end kits will have the Cartograph do their decals for them, and that's why on the box it says decals by Cartograph, because Cartograph are the Bentley, the Rolls-Royce, the Ferrari, the Lamborghini of the decal printing business, and there's very few people that are doing screen printed decals anymore. But anyway, I look at decals. The first thing I look, especially on vintage kits, is are they screen printed decals? And if they're in an old kit, most likely they're screen printed, because that was really the only way to do them back then. The modern day, or a lot of them are digitally printed, which is a shame, because it's screen printing is a complete art form, and I did it for a number of years. That's how I got my start in the art world, was screen printing. I was a screen print artist. I learned how to screen print, and I screen printed for a lot of years for a lot of companies, and it is an amazing art form, and it produces some of the best printed work that there is. You know, the next one would be offset, but I've never seen an offset printed decal, to be honest with you. I've only seen digitally printed and screen printed. Anyway, my thoughts on the old Smithsonian Space Shuttle. Not one of my favorites, to be honest with you, and I think it's great for a beginner. I think it's really good kit for a beginner. I don't think you would have any problem building this with Grandpa on Easter Sunday at the dining room table, and putting this together, and slapping this together and have it on the shelf, within a few hours without much frustration. I think you'll have a good time. I can see you and Grandpa building this, if he can stay sober long enough, and you'll have no problems. And I think this is a good one. The disappointment in this kit for me is that there's no what do you call it, tile detail. I mean, that's a big misstep, I think, on this kit, but maybe, I don't understand that, but that's the way they decided to do it. They decided to do the non-tile version, which, what would happen if it had no tiles? It burned up. As it came back in, it re-entered the atmosphere, and it would kill everybody like it did on Columbia. And that is a true shame. And it's not good. I think you'd want to be accurate. There's not a whole lot of detail in the engines. There's not hardly any detail in the cockpit area. Here's my thoughts for a more experienced model builder. If this is the only model you can find, which I doubt, because there's many space shuttle models out there, but if this is the only one, you're on a deserted island, and there's a container ship, and it crashes, and you swim out there, there's a bunch of packages, and lo and behold, this is the only space shuttle kit you can get, because the container's just full of these, and you go in, and you happen to have all your modeling supplies and everything with you, and your glues, and hey, we got a fan in the back there, and you have to build this kit. I think this is the good basis for somebody who wants to scratch build. I think this is a good base for somebody who wants a base that he can go in and do all the tiling. The tank is the same way. You could add detail and texture to the tank. You could add detail to the engine. You could add, it's all there to as a base to do something very creative with this, if that's what you're looking for. And I think you'd come out with a really good model if you spent a long time on this thing as an expert model builder. Young kid, Gramps, you two sitting at the kitchen table, Easter Sunday, you know what I mean? You'll have this done. And I think it'll be a time well spent with somebody that you love.
I think that's a good cost-benefit analysis you just did.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm here to help. I'm not here to hinder. That's my whole mission. And I don't think this kit would cause you to drink too much. You know, I think you can make this through. I don't think Grandpa would be totally drunk by the end of this. I think he would, you know, I think he'd keep his sanity on this one. The expert model builder, this is a great base to start with. That would be my opinion. And my mind's already going wild with thinking about how I would do the tiles. That's just when I look at a model, that's immediately what I start thinking of. What would I do to this thing? Immediately I'm like, okay, how would I do the tiles? Well, you know, that's the way my mind works. And I'd figure it out and come up with something cool. There's better space shuttle kits out there. There's much better space shuttle kits out there. Revell, Germany makes some good ones. Tamiya makes one. Who else do I know that makes a space shuttle kit? I want to say Fujimi, but it's not. It's somebody else.
There have been some small kits, mini craft, some small versions.
Yeah. Revell makes.
But I built a Revell one.
Revell makes really good. They have the best ones, I think. Tamiya makes one, and I've always wanted. I'd be interested to see what Tamiya's looks like. I've never opened one up. It'd be interesting to see it.
I have. I'd give the edge to the Revell.
Would you give the?
I would.
I tell you, Revell Germany. Just on a whole nother note, since we're talking about Revell Germany has stepped it up. I mean, as a model company, they are, in my opinion, they're producing some of the best, at least for automotive. I've only built the automotive kits. The German automotive kits by Revell, out of Revell Germany, are outstanding, and they're almost equal with Tamiya. And somebody's going, everybody's Tamiya. Tamiya's hit or miss. I'm sorry to tell you. Revell Germany's really stepping up. If you're looking for really good car models, Revell Germany's. Way to go. I don't even know why we're talking about car models. We got this with the vintage space shuttle here.
Talking about that.
Anyway, come on down to Harry's Hobbies, ladies and gentlemen, here in beautiful Norton, Massachusetts. You are gonna love it here. You're gonna bring a foldable chair with you because when you want to take a break because your hip is bothering you, because there's so much to see. Harry doesn't mind if you sit down in the store. For a little while.
One of those chairs they bring to kids' soccer games.
Yes, exactly.
With the drink holder.
With the 3 legs.
Yeah.
Bring one of those with you. Bring a cooler with you. Because you're going to be here all day because of all the stuff in here. And you're going to fall in love with it. It is the best hobby shop, in my opinion, around. And it's just a great place. And you need to come here and you need to come and buy this beautiful Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum space shuttle. I don't know what the price is on this, but I'm sure Harry would be very reasonable with you if you came in and said, hey, that space shuttle kit that the Pope reviewed, is there any chance I could purchase that? And he's going to say, yeah, of course, sir. Of course you can. Let me get out my notes on that kit, and let me see what we're going to charge you for it. And I doubt it's going to be very much.
And being on a video, that exact kit has provenance.
Yes, it has provenance. In fact, I sign it for you if you decide to purchase it. And I would even build it for you. If you wanted me to build it, say, hey, I want to buy that and I want the Pope to build it, I'll build it for you. And it'll come out nice. I'd want to do a little bit to it though. I wouldn't just build it straight out of the box. I wouldn't feel right doing that. I would have to add, and I probably wouldn't use the glue that came with it, and I may not use the paintbrush, even though I'd be tempted to use the paintbrush. I probably won't. I'll probably use. I would think I would use my own paint and my own brushes, and I might even break out the airbrush on this thing. Because I airbrush about 90% of everything versus hand painting. And you should too. Beginners should immediately get an airbrush. That's another piece of advice for you. And one day we'll do an airbrush tutorial. I don't know when, but one day we will. But today this is vintage unboxings from Harry's Hobbies. Please check out my website, thepopoplastic.com, thepopoplastic.com. Catch me live on YouTube and catch me live on TikTok. TikTok I build almost every day live, so you can catch me there. And please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And we're going to have a model show coming up soon. I'll be doing a whole thing on that coming up in the next few videos. But that'll be May 18th in Norton, Massachusetts. I mean, in Franklin, Massachusetts, at the Elks in Franklin, Massachusetts, on May 18th. Doors will open at 9 a.m. and then we're going to party. We're going to have a great time. I can't wait. I cannot wait. We might even do some line dancing, but we're going to do. We're going to have a model contest. We're going to have all sorts of models for sale. I'm going to be there, if you can believe it or not. I'll be a guest judge for the model competition. We'll have some special prizes. That's going to be May 18th in Franklin, Massachusetts at the Elks Lodge. Coming up, you can come meet me and come meet the whole team from Harry's and a bunch of other great vendors, and we'd love to see you there. And I'll be talking more about that as we get closer. Come on down and get this beautiful AirFix Space Shuttle. Not my first choice, but if you're into space shuttles, this would probably fourth choice. But I would certainly come down and buy this to help out Harry's for sure. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time on vintage model unboxings from Harry's Hobbies in beautiful Norton, Massachusetts. Remember, like and subscribe.